Darcy Herauf, and I hope I said that right, sir, is the director of AgExpert Division at FCC, where he leads the team that creates solid and simple software solutions that help Canadian farmers digitize their farm records. Darcy was born and raised on a mixed farm in southeast Saskatchewan and attended the University of Regina, where he received a degree in business. Since joining the AgExpert team, he's focused on creating practical solutions that help Canadian farmers better manage their financial and field information. Welcome, Darcy.
We're on. Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for, big thank you to the organizers for having me speak today. It's always a pleasure to come out and talk about AgExpert. And yeah, it's always tough to go at 9:30, but thanks everybody for coming nice and early on a cold, well, I guess a warm day if you compare it to the last couple of weeks. So as mentioned, I'm Darcy Herauf, the director of AgExpert. And AgExpert has a pretty simple mission. We just want to produce solid and simple software to help farmers digitize their records. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and that's going to be a recurring theme. Just a quick rundown of the agenda. We're going to just talk about what digitization actually is. I'll go through a little bit about who AgExpert is and what we were and where we've came from and where we want to go. And then we'll talk a little bit about some value statements and value propositions that farmers have with digital records. And then I'd like to run through a couple of use cases just to make it real for people. There's the clicker. So what is digitization? It's really it's as simple as taking something physical and putting it in a digital format. And really the easiest way of thinking about it, it's that, taking that Hillroy notebook and putting it into some type of software, some type of application, in our case, in AgExpert's case, in the cloud, which gives you lots of flexibility and lots of extra use cases for it. But it's really taking that, my screen down here is glitchy. I was thinking the presentation was gone. It's really taking that physical binder and putting it in a digital format. Okay, so just who AgExpert is. So AgExpert is one of Canada's oldest ag technology companies. We actually, if you go back to the origin of AgExpert, in the early 80s, there's 3 or 4 farmers that farmed around Regina, Saskatchewan. They thought these personal computing things that everybody was getting in their house were actually pretty cool. And they thought, hey, farmers can use personal computers through their books. So they started a company called Settler Technologies. And that was really Canada's first, maybe one of the world's first digital accounting programs built specifically for agriculture. And those founders ran that company until about 2002, and they were quite successful building up customer base and getting farmers, building for agriculture, specific for agriculture technology. In 2002, they wanted to exit, and being in Regina, and Farm Credit is headquartered in Regina, FCC thought, hey, this might be a good opportunity to build and grow on that platform. So from FCC's perspective, I was looking at, don't ask me why I was looking at this, I think I was looking at a corporate report from 1968. And in that report, there was programs at FCC, I think we were Farm Credit Corporation at that time, setting up programs where farmers could send in their paper documents, send them to Ottawa, they digitize them and send them back a digital format of their books. So we've really been in the game and trying to help farmers use digital tools and understand their farms better since, if you want to go back to the 60s, that's something that's near and dear to our heart. Some of the key things on this timeline, in 2018, we made our first jump to the cloud with AgExpert Field, and that's a full field management package. We followed that up in 2019 with our first field version of AgExpert Accounting. And we've been growing on that ever since. And we're going to talk about the reasons we went to the cloud a little bit later on, but it's really about helping farms be able to use that data and reuse that data multiple times by being able to share it with other trusted companies. So I talked a little bit, those are our 2 main applications, AgExpert Accounting and AgExpert Field. The easiest way to remember what AgExpert Accounting is, it's basically QuickBooks built specifically for Canadian agriculture. So anything that a farm needs to do to manage their financial aspects of their operation can be done in accounting. The easiest way of explaining Fields, it's really a cost of production tool. So it's really a tool that by digitizing every pass or every activity you do on that field throughout the growing season, you can start tracking your in-season cost of production, really to help marry up those in-season agronomy decisions with financial decisions. And I also farm southeast of Regina. And sometimes those agronomy decisions are made what's best for the crop, and you forget about, okay, am I going to get a return for this $20 or $25 an acre fungicide application? Having that data on your phone at point of need really helps optimize those decisions. I mentioned we're solid and simple, so we create things with farmers. We have what we call the farmer sounding board. So before we go out with most of our features on both applications, we like to test it with farmers. And we always get feedback, and that it's really an important part of our development process, getting feedback from our customers and from our farm sounding board to make sure we're hitting the mark and we're keeping true to our solid and simple promise. The other thing that we did early on when we moved to the cloud is we're very proud to be the first Ag Data Transparent certified company that's headquartered in Canada. So what Ag Data Transparency really does is we believe that farmers own their data. Farm Credit or AgExpert makes no claims to farms' individual data sets. And what we want to do is make sure that they can control who they share it with. So we make it as easy to share, or to say it the other way, we make it as easy to not share their data as it is to share it. So if you shared it with a company that you do business with and you decide not to share it in the future, it's a couple of button clicks and you can stop sharing. But we really want that control in the hands of our customers and in the hands of producers. Just want to talk a little bit too about some of the value we see with having digital records. And some of it is around mitigating your risks, being able to manage, as we mentioned, how you share it. Optimizing decision making is a big important one for me. Being able to connect your data with other data sets and creating one spot for farms to store all of their data is also important. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about sustainability, and I know sustainability is a bit of a buzzword, but really what I want to focus on there is how farms can use their data to bring some clarity and bring some insights that they otherwise wouldn't have had if they didn't have a digital source of their farm data. The other reason that, being in the business really since the early 80s and really as part of Farm Credit since the early 2000s, we've had all types of use cases from our customers that couldn't access their data. So they lost their notebook or even on their computer system, maybe it froze. Just having it in the cloud means it's always available, it's always backed up. We have 2 copies of everything. And it takes some of that risk away from fire, flood, just the physical risks of the world, or even having some of the physical risks that can happen to anybody's hard drive on their personal computer. As we mentioned, I'm going to use the term API. It probably means nothing to a lot of people, but really it's an application program interface. And what APIs do is they allow different systems to talk to each other. So AgExpert being built within what we call an API first mandate that really makes it easy for our customers to be able to share their data. And we have partnerships with lots of other ag tech companies that other Canadian farmers are using, really under the principle of enter your data once in any system and use it multiple times. And when we talk about the future, what we're really looking for and what we're really hoping that we can help Canadian agriculture do is get to a low touch or no touch record keeping. So rather than have to, and I have fat, greasy thumbs and little phones, and you're in your tractor and you're trying to manually enter this data, my machine's probably already tracking it. So why can't I bring that data from my machine into AgExpert, share it with an insurance provider, share it with whoever, without really having to do a lot of manual data entry? And we think that's the future. Mentioned streamliner. I'd rather say optimize decision making. Farmers, and maybe I'm talking a little bit because I'm a farmer, but they're great decision makers. Farmers and producers are making decisions every single day. And so what I like to say is, hey, maybe by having some of the data behind that decision, you can just optimize it. Maybe you can make it faster. Maybe you can make a slightly different decision than you were going to make before without that data set. But really having that data and having it available at the point you need it, in the format you need it, we think is very important. And that's something that AgExpert and some of my team is here, and we're at the booth today, so don't be afraid to go and ask them questions. Hopefully they back up what I'm saying. I see 2 of them right here in the front. We just think it's really important to help farmers make better decisions or optimize that decision-making process. The other thing that being able to share your data with other trusted companies is you can centralize it in one place. We've done lots of market research. Most of our customers are using 2 to 4 to 5 sources of or data providers. What we want to do by being able to share that data is by bringing it all into one place where you can then make decisions on it. So we've developed what we are calling My Farm Connect, and that really is what allows, using APIs, our customers to be able to share their data with other trusted companies. And we're doing that in an ag data transparent framework. So all of our partner companies treat data the same way. They have the same relationship with their customers and their data, and we think that's really important. Back in 2018, one of the biggest reasons why farmers weren't sharing their data were scared, and I put my hand up with that, was trust. I don't know if I can once I put that data out there in the cloud or out there in the world, do I trust that it's being used the way it's supposed to, or the way that my partner said they were going to use it? By being ag data transparent, companies actually say, hey, I'm going to be very transparent with what I'm using that data for. And if I'm not, there's mechanisms to call them out for that. So a couple of our partners, when we talk about that ag data transparent, we have, if you're a field user, you can bring your production data, your as-applied information, right in from John Deere My Op Center. Once again, low touch or no touch, that system equipment that equipment's already generating data. So rather than having to retype it into field in order to calculate your in-season cost of production, you can simply bring it over with a 3-click migration. The other one, I don't know if there's any potato producers in the room, but we have a partnership with McCain Foods. So if you are a potato producer and you are using AgExpert Field to track your field activities, we reuse that data to help populate Canada Gap forms, to help populate PSA forms. And really our integration with McCain now takes that data right from AgExpert Field and puts it right into McCain's system. Whereas before it was kind of a paper-based system, right? You could digitize the record, but then you'd have to print it off, you'd have to correct it, you'd have to do some hand entry, sometimes email it or even hand off the paper to the McCain's agronomist, and then they'd have to re-enter it into their system. This makes it smooth and relatively painless for all of our customers. This is a little bit, maybe not launched 12 hours ago with Field or with Climate Field View. We launched that, Janelle, when did we launch that? This summer? Yeah, so I think early in the summer we launched our integration with Climate Field View. Same principle as John Deere Op Center, where customers that are using Climate Field View for their precision information can bring that precision data right into AgExpert and start using, without having to do a bunch of data entry, you can start making sure that precision information is actually being used in cost of production. So you kind of get a best of both worlds or best of both breeds solution. And then what we're working on in the future is things like insurance. So we hope to be in the market in March with a hail insurance provider. Palliser Hail, headquartered in Saskatoon. Right now, if any of you probably all apply for hail insurance. I don't know if you use Palliser, but you have to manually enter all of that, re-enter all of that data into the Palliser system to just get a quote. And that, if you have 30, 40, 50, 60 fields, not only is it a lot of time, there's a lot of chance for error. So every time you enter that, you got to put in legal land description, acres, what was seeded, just to get a quote. So with our integration, it's 3 clicks of a button. You can bring that information from Field, send it to Palliser. They can at least provide you a quote, and then you can go in Palliser's system. And if you choose to buy that insurance, you can do it all kind of in one swoop. A couple of other partnerships we have. One is with Herauf. So Herauf is a company based in Quebec, and they provide optical character recognition partner for us. So what Herauf does is they digitize paper copies of invoices and receipts. So if you're an accounting user, instead of having to manually enter all of that data, if you're using Herauf, that digitizes all of that information for us. It sorts it in a way that AgExpert Accounting can take it, and that's how you kind of do your data entry in AgExpert Accounting. That just launched in October, I believe, right, Janelle? I think we have 14 or 15 customers using Herauf, so we're pretty excited to get that out in the market, saving those, hands on keyboards, giving farmers more time in the field, more time in the barn, more time at kids' baseball, hockey games, what have you. On the accounting side, we also have an integration with Plaid. So what Plaid does, if anybody is doing your monthly or quarterly bank reconciliations and you have to download that QBO file and upload it into your accounting system, Plaid brings that information automatically in from whatever bank or whatever banks or FIs you're using, really simplifying that data entry process. And then another one we have is with AgConnexion. I don't know if AgConnexion is out in Manitoba yet, but they're a crop input provider, and a lot of customers that use those, their invoices right from AgConnexion flow automatically right in AgExpert accounting. Once again, cutting down that manual data entry. And we do think that low touch or no touch record keeping is the way of the future. And we want to make sure Canadian farmers have the same ability and the same advantages that any other businesses in Canada do. Because a lot of other accounting platforms built for small business, they have some of these features. So we're keeping pace with them. So one thing I want to talk a little bit about, or maybe just focus on a little bit, is helping farmers figure out their farm sustainability footprint. I'm just going to take a drink of water here quick. I should have handed the mic to Landon and Janelle. They could have told a joke. But really with sustainability right now, it's tough to know what's going to be asked for farms to prove their on-farm sustainability. We don't know at AgExpert, farm credit, we don't really know, but we do know that, and most, I think, people in agriculture know that something's happening with sustainability, and there's going to be requests for farms to be able to better prove, I shouldn't even say better proof, to prove that they're using the most sustainable practices to grow their production, whether you're in livestock or crops or orchards or what have you. So once again, under that enter your data once and use it multiple times, we've developed a partnership with Agriculture Agri-Food Canada's Herauf tool. So what Herauf does, it's an algorithmic tool, so it uses complicated math to figure out to figure out the impact of farms' practices on their sustainability footprint. So we started with carbon sequestration. There's also a module for methane gas emissions. And there's another module for, what is it, Janelle? The third, what's that? Nitrous oxide, that's right. So off-gassing from fertilizer. The way we did it too, that data for your individual farm is your data. So whatever comes out of the results for Herauf, we don't have any rights to at Farm Credit. It's basically so that farms can start having a better understanding of their impacts and their farm's impact on their sustainability footprint. One of the things also with sustainability is we wanted it to be part of our package, so no extra cost to farms. There's lots of different schemas out there that farms can, or lots of different companies farms can work on, but they're quite expensive. And they're quite intensive just in the amount of testing and the amount of time you have to invest in that. And what we wanted to do is use data that's already in AgExpert field, integrate that with the Herauf model, and help farms get a result. So this is going out in March. We should be live and in the market. So for anybody that's using AgExpert Field and has your field activities digitized, what we do is give you an idea of on your farm from a carbon sequestration perspective, if you're in if you've sequestered more carbon than you've emitted, or if you've emitted more carbon than you've sequestered. Early results in most of our farms right now are in Western Canada. We're finding that farms are actually doing a pretty good job with sustainability. When we talk to them. I ran my farm's data through it, and I'm in a carbon surplus perspective. And I think that's what we see, and what it helps me to do is when I'm having discussions with some of my friends that live in the city about when you read things about agriculture, you have no backing. You don't know if, I think my farm's sustainable. My farm, the air out there seems better than the air in downtown Toronto, but you can't really have a discussion with that, right? What this is doing is giving you data based on the algorithms and based on the math in the Herauf model on how your farm's actually doing. It's not exact, it's an estimate. It's gonna get better with more data, right? So when we start using things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, those algorithms get better tuned with more data, and that's what we want to provide the industry. Giving agriculture and giving farmers a chance to speak positively about the positive impacts they're having on the environment, on sustainability. So it's going to look a little bit like that. It's going to say, hey, your farm is trending up or down. This is how much from a ton of carbon equivalent your farm sequestered. And here's kind of a 5-year trend. Really, really basic. And for those of you that are using Field, I'd encourage you to give us lots of feedback on this, because this is something I think as an industry, we need farmer feedback, and we need to do this with farmers to make sure we're hitting the mark on it. So yeah, a couple of, I think I went through some of this already, but we really, once again, we want farms to be able to have some data to talk about the impact they're having, and sustainability is just one use case. I do want to make sure we have some time for questions at the end. I'm just going to check the time quickly. And my timer stopped. How are we doing for time? Oh, we got about 10 minutes. So maybe just a little bit about where we're heading in the next year or next 2 years. And it's really about creating a 360-degree view of the farm from a data perspective. So that if you have financial data, you have insurance data, you have data coming from your machines, data coming from your accountant, what we want to do is give the ability to put that all in one place so that you can make maximum use and effectiveness of that data. One of the things is benchmarking. So you can start benchmarking your farm against others, or even your farm against your farm. And you can't do that. It's really hard to benchmark off a notebook. Sometimes it's even hard to benchmark off an Excel spreadsheet, actually. So that's one of the things using APIs and using the ability for farmers to be able to share their data or collect their data in one spot. That's going to be a big focus. And probably the other thing, it's centered on that Ag Data Transparent certification. So we want our partners, anybody that we allow or anybody that we enable our customers to share their data with, we want to make sure they're treating that data with the same rules as our customers expect under that Ag Data Transparent banner. And then, yeah, we talked about sustainability. There's lots of different use cases we have working with our customers and working with the industry to try to help farms better understand how they can respond to sustainability challenges, maybe is the best way of putting it. So that's pretty much it. I'm glad we have some time for questions here at the end. And I'm wondering if there's any questions, and you can just shout them out and I'll repeat them and try to answer them. Oh. Yeah, good question. And the question was, are there any online tutorials specific for AgExpert Field? I know we have a ton for accounting. I think there might be 1 or 2 YouTube videos on Field. But one of the things that you can always do is we have our customer care center is open from 8 in the morning in Newfoundland to 5 p.m. in Victoria, we're across Canada. So if you ever have any questions or you want some help with it, just give our customer care call line and somebody will definitely can help you out with that. We also, at trade shows, stop by the booth. So we have a big touch screen and Field is something we demo all the time. So yeah, the team would love to help you. There's not as many videos though on the Field side as there is on the accounting side. It's kind of, some of the more complex stuff is on the accounting side, but still, yeah, that first help to get you started with Field, yeah, we'll make sure the team is there to provide help and support. Yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah.
What about like integration with like SparkPay and those kind of with AgExpert for paying bills?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, do we have an integration with any of the, making it easier to pay bills? It's on our backlog. We're looking at it right now. The young lady with the FCC name tag is Janelle, and Janelle's our product owner for our accounting package. So I know she's on the lookout for partners to help enable payment solutions. That even includes payroll. That includes, making your accounts payable payments right out of the app instead of having to go to different applications. But yeah, it's on, I don't know, in a smaller room, I'd say, oh, we'll have it done in 6 months, but maybe 12 to 18 months, Janelle, hey, fingers crossed. I know we're looking for it. I know customers are asking for it, right? And under our solid and simple banner, that's something I think we have to provide the industry, and some of the other accounting packages do. So we're playing a little bit of catch up there. Yeah, but it's coming. Oh.
What do you think the biggest resistance you come up with farmers?
On using digital tools?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was, what's some of the biggest resistance we have with farmers using digital tools? I still think number one is trust. You have to be able to trust that once you put your data out there in the cloud, although we treat it like it's your data, what we want to do is provide a safe, secure vault for you to store your data in. You're still putting it in the cloud. You're losing some control over it. And then when you share that with another company, you're losing a little bit more, or that feeling of control. So that's really why we were very interested in bringing the Ag Data Transparency Certification to Canada and creating a whole ecosystem based on that trust certification. And some of the other things I think are still time. Like with any solution on the farm, there has to be an obvious return on investment. Or it's pretty hard to convince people to spend time learning it, using it, implementing it on their farm if they can't say, oh, I know that this is going to be X return. So I think those two, between trust and ROI, I still think are the two biggest things that we have to work on or have to prove. All right, I'm getting the 2-minute mark. We maybe have time for one more question if there is one. Oh, one right at the top.
What's the onboarding process like?
Question is, what's the onboarding process for accounting or field or both?
Is it similar or dissimilar?
Yeah, good question. So how do you start using it, or how do you start? Really setting up your account is very simple. It takes about 30 seconds. Accounting is a little bit more detailed and more in-depth to start than on the field side. With accounting, though, what we've done is under that solid and simple banner, we've really made it click a bunch of check boxes. So when you start, every time, so I grow wheat, I have hogs, I have cattle, I have potatoes. Every time you click that, what we're doing is behind the scenes, we're setting up all your accounts, your chart of accounts, we're setting up your counterbalance accounts, and we're taking all of that kind of pain and suffering sometimes, and having set up a chart of accounts on other systems. All of that is customized. So we really take it down to a couple of minutes. Then the real work begins, though, entering your opening balances, finding your inventories. Once again, though, our customer care team, that's all they do every day, is they help customers set it up. We also offer a white glove service. So the first time you use on our premium software package, the first time you use it, we'll sit with you for 3 hours. And we have what we call AgExpert certified advisors spread across the country. And I know there's some around Brandon. There's a few more outside in the Manitoba area. And they'll come to farm and help you. So yeah, we try to really simplify that process, because it is, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it takes some time and effort to set up your books. Field is a little bit different. Once you have your field set up, and that's mostly a point and click process, or you can bring in those field boundaries from John Deere or from FieldView. It's a little bit easier setup process, but then you got to get into the habit of actually digitizing those passes as you go through those fields, or bringing that data over on a daily or every third or fourth day. So no, really good question. Okay, with that, I'm going to get the hook. Once again, thank you all. It was a pleasure to be here. We have a booth. We're at the Farm Credit booth. Janelle's going to be here. Laurie's going to be here. I'll be around a little bit in the afternoon, as will Landon. So if you have any questions, come find us. And yeah, thanks a lot. Have a great day, and have a great day at the show.